Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and children of all ages. With the American election coming up in 15 days, I figured this is a prime time to show my distaste for both of the presidential candidates that are running for office in the United States of America. Now, I'm from Canada. I wear a hockey hoodie. And so I'm an outsider looking in on the American election. But since this is a music channel, I'm not really supposed to talk just about politics. So I've decided to start a 3-part mini-series that I'll be running for the next 3 weeks every Monday on the history of politics and their connection to music. So today we're going to be covering pre-20th century, so anything 1900 and earlier. So let's get started. So the real start of politics being tied to music is in the Dark Ages at around 500 AD with Pope Gregory I. He was the man who invented a style of music known as Gregorian chant. Gregorian chant is very epic sounding, to say the least, and it preached religious teachings and different religious beliefs through the art of song, and so that really pushed the agenda of the day and the principles of the day to the people. And that's the real start of politics really being tied to music. So I'm going to jump a few hundred years, or 1,000 years actually, to the Romantic period from the 1800s to 1900. And I just have a quick summary of a few major things. So in Europe, in Italy, in 1844, Nabucco, I hope I said that right, an opera by Giuseppe Verdi premiered. In the opera, a chorus of Hebrew slaves was considered to be a call for the Italians to overthrow Austria and France's dominance. At the time, Napoleon had crowned himself King of Italy in 1805. Verdi was appointed to Parliament of a newly unified Italy in 1861. So the composer of this opera was elected. It was appointed to the Parliament of Italy a few years later. So there's a musician who came into politics after. In 1954, a ballad called Spartacus by composer Aram Khachaturian, I said that wrong, but whatever, used gladiator slaves rebelling against Roman masters as a call to overthrow the Russian government. So there is another example of music being used to push a political agenda. So now something that most of my American viewers will probably be able to relate to a little better. I'm going to get into the Civil War stuff now. November 6th, 1860, Abraham Lincoln, who had declared the government cannot endure permanently half slave, half free, is elected president, the first Republican receiving 180 of 303 possible electoral votes and 40% of the popular vote. So he's elected president, and he basically wants to free the slaves. Then, February 9th, 1861, the Confederate States of America is formed with Jefferson Davis, a West Point graduate and former U.S. Army officer, is the president. So, April 12th, 1861, Confederates under General Pierre Beauregard opened fire with 50 cannons upon Fort Sumter in Charleston, South Carolina. The Civil War begins. So this is where the music tie comes in, right? So, the Battle of the Hymn of the Republic by Julia Ward Howe, written in 1961. So Julia Ward Howe, daughter of banker Samuel Ward, in 1843, she married the forget that word, Dr. S. G. Howe, best known as head of the Perkins Institute for the Blind. She assisted in editing his anti-slavery journal, the Boston Commonwealth. So this is someone who is in support of Lincoln and wants to help free slaves. In 1861, she made her first trip to Washington, where her husband became interested in the work of the Sanitary Commission. During the visit, the party was invited to a military review in the Virginia camps. On the way back, she and the others in the carriage sang John Brown's Body to the applause of the soldiers by the roadside. That night, the inspiration came, and she wrote one of the best known of her songs and one of the finest products of the whole Civil War period. Her later life was devoted largely to the cause of women's suffrage. She died at Newport, October 17th, 1910. So that's just a brief overview of a couple examples of political ties to music pre-20th century. The point I'm trying to get at here is political messages don't have to come from punk rock or rap. It can come in classical music and poems and Gregorian chant and all other forms of music that existed pre-20th century. Now, some of the more prominent political artists are from the 20th and 21st centuries. I'll get to that in the second and third part of this series. Thanks for watching today's episode of Arik Olson Music. Hope you enjoyed, and I hope you'll check out next week's episode of Politics Tied to Music. And here's my message for Donald Trump. Here's my message for Hillary Clinton. Thanks for